In all of our leases, there are rules we sign in agreement. Some people think rules don't apply to them. The office staff and maintenance know about these issues, but some of these issues continue to be ignored. The violation of rules continue, and unfortunately sometimes there is a crackdown needed. And when that happens, sometimes good tenants are caught up in the clean sweep. Over the last couple of years, I've noticed the lack of cleanliness when it comes to pet owners cleaning up after their pets. When I walk my dog, I pick up after it. I've got a pocket full of doggy bags at all times. I've seen other tenants let their dog do their business and keep on walking. I've seen other tenants stand on the doorstep and let their dog go out as far as the leash will let them, and then they go back in the nice warm apartment and not go and pick up their dog's, mess. This becomes an issue because people step in it because they walk on the grass and then it tracks inside the building. It is disgusting when the snow melts because there's literal pails full of it. But yet people don't seem to see it as an issue, even though in the lease or rental agreement, they signed saying they would. Recently I received a notice saying that the power subsidy that I've been receiving and other tenants have been receiving as part of the bonus for living here is being took away, eliminated, stopped. So when that happens, that basically means that the power now is 100% fully the cost responsible of the tenant, which is me. Well, with utility costs and stuff the way they are, the power bills are going to be high. Based on other tenants and their power consumption, that's going to put me over what my budget limit for my monthly budget is, and essentially when that happens, there'll be no money for nothing else. Groceries are going to be severely reduced to probably $20-30 a month at the very most. Fuel for the truck will be virtually non-existent, and there'll be no money for outings or fun time. I have noticed a little bit of a change in the cleanliness of the complex. There used to be washing of the walls and washing of the railings in the stairwell quite frequently. And over the last year, that hasn't happened. I'm not sure who was doing it, which one of the employees was doing it, but either they've left or they got overworked and they're no longer feeling like doing the extra. So when you walk on the stairs and touch the railing, you can feel the dirt, feel the filth. When you walk on the steps, you can sometimes feel your shoes sticking to the steps because someone's been through spilling God knows what on the stairs. And I know I'm a little oversensitive when it comes to certain dirty things like that, but they're doing a good job when they can of keeping up with the garbage. But there's always tenants that throw trash on the grass or clean out their vehicle and throw it on the parking lot because I guess they don't believe the rules apply to them. They used to give notices to plow the parking lots, and on their notice it states that vehicles that don't move will be towed. Now these notices are given with ample time for tenants to tow their broke down cars or get their friends to move their vehicles that are being stored. However, they don't move. And when they come to shovel or clean the parking lot, they leave great big ridges around because they have to plow around these vehicles. Now, it is not a huge deal, but over the course of the winter, the foot or 2 feet of snow we get over the winter, these ridges become hard to walk over, hard to drive over. Cars get stuck, people slip on them. In fact, they had what I assumed to be a huge WCB claim requiring surgery. One of their maintenance men slipped on the ice and hazards in their parking lot this winter, so maybe next winter will be better. Like I mentioned there earlier with the irresponsible pet owners and not picking up after them, it is a privilege for us to be able to have our dogs here. It is not a right for them to have our dogs here. And people are abusing this privilege, and it will be took away eventually. I've noticed in the last year or so, there's a lot of younger families been moving into the complex. Younger families that have children. Younger families that seem to let their kids just run free range without watching where their kids are. And these kids are playing on and around and under people's vehicles, touching people's vehicles, rubbing their hands on people's vehicles, scratching the paint, things like that. And yeah, I've had issues with my truck because, well, that seems to be a nice shiny black truck is what attracts these kids, I guess. And I don't know what to do. Like, they don't seem to care. It's not their issue. They just go on about their day, and you're supposed to let them damage your vehicle, I suppose. The complex built a brand new playground. However, the parents are insisting that their crotch goblins play in the dirt and grass right in front of their patio doors. They're digging holes in the grass, tearing up, the grass, moving the dirt onto the sidewalk, and when it rains, the grass turns to mud, and then the mud tracks inside, and then there's complaints because it's dirty. And with the kids playing on or under and around people's vehicles, there's been close calls where kids almost get backed over. I am so glad that I have a backup camera and those fancy little annoying sensor thingies that tell me when there's a little crotch goblin, behind my truck. I'm glad I'm the kind of person that checks my surroundings before just throwing it in gear and matting it, One of the things I've noticed is subletting of apartments is an ongoing problem. A good person with a good reputation and history rents the apartment and then lets anyone stay there, whether it's family or sublets it out to workers or, hey, even Airbnb, who knows what they're doing in there. Well, these people that come in there to stay short term didn't sign a lease, so they have no idea what the complex rules are. So they're smoking on their balcony, they're throwing their trash out on the grass, and they just don't abide by the rules. And it's only when there's a problem, like the cops being called or the apartment explodes because they were cooking some kind of special blue candy in there, and there's a big issue. There have been some issues with filthy tenants, once again, whose trash spills out in the hallway. Their apartments are filthy, like they haven't been cleaned. There's bugs, there's creepy crawlies. You can see the clutter trying to make its way out from under the door. The balconies are stacked with trash because they don't want to put the effort into taking their garbage to the bin, once or twice a week when they do leave their apartment. Many of these people take advantage of the delivery of food and groceries, so they technically never have to leave their apartment. There is ongoing vandalism still. There is graffiti still. One of the things that I've noticed is the sidewalk chalk. Now, if sidewalk chalk is used on the sidewalk, then that's fine because it rains and it disappears. But there are children and adults, not just children, there's adults too, seem to be using sidewalk chalk to write on the vertical surfaces of the building. Well, the vertical surfaces don't get wet when it rains. And of course, with the underground sprinklers broke, they don't hit the building and they don't wash it off. Now we do have a camera system and we pay a premium to have this system. However, I don't believe it's actually 24-hour monitored. I think it's just hanging there, and maybe they have access to it in the office, but there's no one 24 hours monitoring it because people bring their strollers and their bicycles and leave their furniture laying in the stairwell, the entrance ways, and it'll lay there for 2 or 3 days before the people come back to come get it. And there have been a few tenants who the cops are called regularly for. I'm not sure why. Maybe drugs, maybe domestic violence, maybe verbally abusing the maintenance or landlord. Who knows? These people need to be taught to respect people. And when you start verbally abusing those people in charge of, well, your apartment and stuff, then that's when crackdown needs to happen. With all the stuff going on in the world, with all the rules and regulations, lawsuits and things that a landlord could potentially face, with the greasy lawyers out there and spineless judges ruling in favor of those whiny people that think they're entitled to something in the world for free, or that they're special and the rules don't apply to them. I think all in all, the landlord, property management company, maintenance staff, and such around here is doing the good a job as they can. Sometimes their hands are tied, sometimes things happen, sometimes people get burnt out. However, that being said, there is still a certain level of comfort that is expected in maintenance wise or reflection of the rent wise, and I call them luxuries. I've noticed a trend where they seem to be removing air conditioners out of apartment buildings and boarding up the holes. And it was the air conditioner that made this building stand out different from other apartments in this town. And when, again, you lose the luxuries that make this building unique, however, the rent still keeps going up to the point where there's only $50-$60 difference between this building and a building with the elevator and air conditioning and whatever newer kitchen and things like that that's been built in the last 10 years versus this one here that was built the better part of 50 years ago. Then changes need to be made. These are just some of my observations, some of the things that I've had going on in my head. Thanks again for watching, and as always, comment, subscribe, and enjoy.